Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gaming Mix podcast, your official podcast from analogstickgaming.com. If you don't know me by now, my name is Jordan, one of the co-owners of Analog Stick Gaming. Hello. I have a new setup here, so that's why things look a little bit different. But one thing that isn't new is the man that's to my right, as he always now is, Jeff, the founder of Analog Stick Gaming. How are you, Jeff?
Being a dog dad, it is what it is. So
How is the dog?
he's growing. Yeah, he's the size of my car now. It is. Yeah, he's getting there now. So, no,
Wow.
him and the cat are getting along. We got him a brand new bed and stuff like that, and they usually like wrestle right next to me, like when I wake up, and then like Sugar basically latches onto his face and just starts aggressively licking him.
Nice, nice.
It's fun.
Well, I hope that I sound okay here today for everybody. Let us know because, like I said, this is a brand new setup for me. I'm actually running this through my main PC now. And I've got an Elgato Wave 3 microphone, which I haven't added any sort of condensers to or anything yet. So this is just the native sound of the mic when you plug and play. So yeah, I hope it sounds good. Let us know, obviously, in the comments if there are any issues, but there hopefully won't be. And a little bit of secret behind the scenes news stuff. Um, we actually did record an episode that has yet to release, but we're hoping to salvage it and release it in the future. So there might be another episode later this week. We are, of course, recording this the day before the Game Awards, which is a strange one because we had some stuff to say in that previous episode about the Game Awards, so you may see that a little bit out of sync. But we did have our main predictions episode the other week,
Yeah.
which of course is up. So make sure you catch up on that as well because that will be important as we come closer to the end of the year here. And since then as well, another bit of kind of housekeeping news. I have reviewed Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. My review is out on the Outer Haven, and it's also up on the Outer Haven's YouTube channel because I actually did a video version for the first time in a long, long time. I even attempted to do that, and I think it turned out okay for my first video review. So please go and give that a look and like it, comment on it, and whatever you'd like to do.
Ring that
And
bell.
Jeff, yes, and Jeff, of course, is playing Indiana Jones and will be reviewing it for us, but we'll talk more about Indy later on. But for now, Jeff, I think there's something else you want to talk about that you've finished, right?
Yeah. So I finished Arcane season 2. I was trying to find my Arcane hoodie and I couldn't this morning. No, I would say like the first season for me is a 10 out of 10. It's the most 10 out of 10 I think that I've ever given. This one here, I would say is a comfortable 9.5 out of 10. I think there's like a little bit of a lull in some of the season that's not as enticing. But it absolutely just goes. They do such a good job. The performances by everybody is just fantastic. Like it is a very good season. It uses the cast in really interesting ways. There's one holy shit moment that I can't believe that they actually did. But again, this is the conclusion to Arcane. There's no Arcane season 3. They're going to be working on something else. But considering how expensive this show was for them, I'm not surprised. Yeah, no, it is truly fantastic. It's another like absolute, pretty much pretty damn close to a masterpiece. Like it is so
I mean, I
enjoyable.
need I need to actually watch this show one day because I've still not done that yet. So
Yeah,
we'll
no,
see what happens there.
yeah, it is absolutely fantastic and 100% worth the watch. I think each season's only
That's
like
good to
9
know.
episodes. I think each episode's about 45 minutes.
Maybe I'll watch it over the Christmas period coming up here. Um,
Yeah.
we're gonna have a little. Well, this is an announcement I haven't even said to Jeff yet, but it's gonna work out this way just because it works for us, and I think we need a bit of time to get things together. But we obviously will have an episode this week, and then next week we will come back and do our kind of Game Awards roundup and our Game Awards predictions scoring that we do. And then I think what will happen is we will probably take a week off to allow us to catch up on any games that we haven't played and figure out our end of year awards situation that we always do. And then we'll come back and do our game of the year episode. So we will have 1 week off coming up, just to give us a bit more time to actually.
Yeah, we'll see if we can fix that lost episode and then put it in that time slot. So that way we're kind of not missing anything. But we'll see. Because
Yes.
yeah.
Technical problems aside, it was a very good episode. I enjoyed that episode, and to give you a little sneak of what we spoke about, we actually spoke quite a lot about Stalker 2 on that episode.
Yeah, and how I absolutely loved it. It was a 10 out of 10. There was no issues whatsoever.
Jeff didn't have one bug. Amazingly,
not one.
Didn't have one bug. He didn't even find an exploit to make himself loads of money in the game.
No, in fact, it had so few bugs. It put bugs in other games. That's how flawless it was.
It was brilliant. But yes, and if we can't fix that episode, we will actually come back and talk about more Stalker in the future, because I'm yet to write my full review, but I'll be doing that this week.
Yeah, I've only got like 6-7 missions left. I've just been so busy with a bunch of codes and a bunch of games and all that kind of stuff.
So have I, yeah, because as you can imagine, Indie was one that, I had to. I mean, I didn't get it like 3 days before it came out, which was nice. I got it about a week before it released, but that was only 6 days before the embargo. So to finish the game and actually do a full video review and written review as well, that took some doing, really. That was quite a bit of work, but I really enjoyed it, as you know, Jeff. And if you've read my review, you actually know a very big spoiler for our Game of the Year discussion that will be coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah, it was weird that you were talking about how Stellar Blade was still like your Game of the Year in the middle of the Indiana Jones review.
Don't worry, Jeff. I've made a plan to play Stellar Blade, okay? So my whole plan is get the 2 things written what I need to write up this week, my Stalker 2 review, and I'm also doing an impressions piece for the Outer Haven on Delta Force, which is a free-to-play shooter. And then once I've done those 2 things, there's one more thing I need to play. Maybe Jeff will play it with me if I can persuade him to spend a tiny amount of money, and that is the new World War Z DLC episode. They've got a brand new DLC episode for that game, because I know that we both played World War Z before. So I'm going to do a review on the Outer Haven for that DLC episode, which came out a few days ago. And then once I've done those things, then I will play Stellar Blade, Jeff. I promise you. Or I will at least attempt to play it and see if it connects with me. How's that? Is that good enough for you?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Jeff, as much as we're having fun here, and this is a nice fun episode, and we will be having more fun when we talk about what we've been playing later on, there has been some very bad news in the industry this week. So where do we want to start with the bad news?
We'll start with, let's see here. We'll start with the game shutting down, just because it's the very first thing in our headline topic here. So we got 2 games shutting down. I'll be doing one at a time here. Rocksteady has confirmed that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League's current season will be its last. This news comes to us from Tom Ivan at VGC. The studio has also announced today that the game will receive a long-promised offline mode coming this Tuesday, December 10th, so yesterday. The game's newest playable character, Deathstroke, will also be available tomorrow when Season 4, Episode 7 is released. Season 4 will finish up with Episode 8, which is scheduled to release in January 2025 and will serve as the last season episode for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. While Season 4, Episode 8 will mark the final battle against Brainiac, all online features will continue to be available, so you'll still be able to enjoy co-op with friends, as well as all previous seasonal episodic content. You'll also be able the option to play the game via the new offline mode, which will allow access to the main story campaign and all post-launch seasonal gameplay content without an internet connection. Players will need to create a new offline mode profile, which can be done by copying an existing online mode profile or making a brand new one by starting the game from scratch. Players will then be able to switch between online and offline profiles, with progression made on either one, not carrying over to the other. As the latest title from the studio behind the celebrated Batman Arkham franchise, Suicide Squad was once of the industry's most highly anticipated games, but enthusiasm for it seemingly waned during a protracted development cycle, which includes some underwhelming pre-release showings and a backlash to its live service elements. This is not surprising that we're seeing the game kind of shutter any future content. I mean, WB itself has kind of made it known that Suicide Squad did not make them a lot of money, that it actually led to a significant loss off their projections. So it's not a surprise that we're seeing this game kind of end and that Rocksteady is moving on to other things. I mean, we know that they have been working on the Hogwarts Legacy Definitive Edition or Game of the Year Edition or whatever. They were a support studio on that, which is, I think, incredibly disrespectful for a team like Rocksteady, the pedigree that they've got. I know there were rumors, I think, of them returning with Batman. I would love to see them just tackle Batman Beyond so that we see kind of a different approach for Rocksteady and kind of a different approach to Arkham City itself. But yeah, Jordan, are you like surprised that Suicide Squad is ending?
I am not surprised, and I'm sorry if you see me leaning this way. I was typing a message to one of our friends, Keith Mitchell, because he may or may not pop into the episode later on to talk about some Path of Exile 2. So you may see him pop up.
Sure.
We'll find out about that. But I'm not surprised because let's be honest, this wasn't the best game, was it, Jeff?
No, like the thing is, like, there are elements there that are not too bad. I like the story presentation and things like that. A lot of the characters are fairly decent, especially like like Tara Strong is Harley again. It's always great seeing her as Harley. But yeah, no, like it didn't have what it needed to be the live service stuff. And like I'll be watching like the last season on YouTube and stuff like that to see the story stuff because like it's obviously like I'm gonna full spoilers here. You kill the Justice League. It's in the title. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It's in the title. But it was always kind of rumored and kind of expected that you were only killing clones created by Brainiac and that he actually had the original Justice League and like clone bat containers or something like that. And that the final season will be Suicide Squad Save the Justice League. And I'm expecting season 8, the final episode, to be that, where you defeat Brainiac and then basically maybe infiltrate his ship, whatever, and save the Justice League. I'm expecting that 100%.
Yeah.
But no, like that's just is what it is. Like it's just one of those games that just did not hit well. The live service elements feel incredibly tacked on.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really
I
even
mean,
feel like a live service game, really.
I mean, this. I was going to say this is another story of a studio who is renowned for making single-player story-based games,
Yeah.
essentially being forced to make a live service game because the corporate overlords wanted to chase trends and make money. Right?
Hmm.
That's essentially what's happened here.
Yeah, like I think this game would have done marginally better if it was just a standard co-op game. And it
Yeah.
feels like that in a lot of ways too. Like it doesn't feel so much like a live service game in certain respects. Um, but yeah, and we've got um, another live service game that is basically shutting down, and this comes to us from Chris Scullion at VGC. The next season of Square Enix's free-to-play game Foam Stars will be its last. In a message posted on its official website, Square Enix has confirmed that the party goes on season, which starts on December 13th. That's what a weird name, right? Party goes on. You're going to be shutting it down,
Yeah.
which starts on December 13th and lasts until January 17th, will be the final season of new content. So the party goes off. The game will continue to run, however, with Square Enix making the previous seasons available again for players to work through if they missed them before. In this concluding update, expansions will be introduced to enhance gameplay, such as the ability to customize shots of each character, and new enhancement elements such as prism gems, all aimed at ensuring players can continue to enjoy the game for the foreseeable future. All online services will remain available after the party goes on season ends. In addition, we plan to hold the Foam Stars Cup, a series of in-game events named after each character. Furthermore, to ensure that new players can fully enjoy Foam Stars, previous season passes will be made available again. Excuse me. Players can switch between season passes at any time to proceed along the season pass track of your choice and obtain items from past seasons. This will make it possible for players to obtain all items from each season. Although old season passes will be returning, they will still be in basic and premium forms, meaning players will still have to pay for the premium pass to get all the rewards. In a letter to players, the game producer thanked fans for playing and says he hopes they will continue to enjoy Foam Stars for many years to come. So this is like, I hadn't pre-read this story prior, but charging players for the premium pass when you have publicly stated you are shutting down the game is fucking dumb.
Yeah, that's really, really bad. That's that's unbelievable because normally when these games shut down, it's oh, we're shutting down on a certain date, and until then, you can actually get all of this stuff for free because we
Yeah,
don't need to make money from it anymore.
like are they expect like who in their right mind is going to buy these premium passes? Like unless they are heavily discounted to be like $5 or something like that, who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah.
But that's still real that's a very Square Enix thing. Like they have that publisher has just kind of dissolved, in a way. Like their goodwill is just kind of gone. Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and stuff notwithstanding, but the publisher themselves has really shown to be kind of what people think EA still is.
I was gonna say it almost reminds me of where EA was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, where they were voted like the worst employer to work for or something like that, right? Square
Yeah.
Enix just seems to be just burning like all of that goodwill away.
Hmm.
But I mean, I've never even seen a single second of gameplay of Foam Stars, other than the trailer. I know it was like Square Enix's like Splatoon essentially.
Yeah, that's all I
Um,
know. I've never actually looked at the gameplay. I saw the trailer and I knew it wasn't for me, so I kind of just ignored it after that.
yeah. Alrighty. So that is the two live service games that are basically shutting down. We just had Concord a little while ago. We will be talking about a extremely good live service game later on that I have been playing. Now we're going to jump into a three-pack of layoffs. People who have been following the show for the last 47 episodes know that at least 40 of them have had some aspects of layoffs. So we've seen it.
Which is not a stat that we enjoy about this show at all. But it's weird because we started this podcast and the industry seems to have fallen apart since that happened, Jeff.
I take no responsibility whatsoever. It's pure coincidence. But we're gonna jump on to a couple of things here. This comes to us from Tom Ivan at VGC. Indie studio Ilphonic has announced that it's made an unspecified number of layoffs. In a statement provided on Twitter, Ilphonic CEO and co-founder Charles Brungart said the state of the industry meant the company needed to be realigned to a refined strategy. That's just PR talk for anyone listening. Founded in 2007, the Predator Hunting Grounds and Ghostbusters Spirit Unleashed developer has studios in Lakewood, Colorado, and Tacoma. Today we have to accept the harsh reality that the state of the industry has impacted us here at IllFonic. It is with the heaviest of hearts that cuts to our team have had to be made as we have realigned to a refined strategy. There is a lot of talent in this group. If you or your team is hiring, please reach out so these people can be connected to open roles. Um, so that's essentially like IllFonic dropping members of the teams. I don't think their games have been wildly successful. I think that they've had certainly some acclaim. Predator Hunted Grounds, I know a lot of people really enjoyed that. Ghostbusters Spirit Unleashed, I've seen people play that as well too. I mean, this was the team behind the Friday the 13th game that got shut down because of licensing issues and
Yes,
stuff
yeah.
like that. But then we've also seen that we've had a few other uh, layoffs. Basically, I'm just trying to find it here. Um, this one sucks because like this is a game that I want to play. I just haven't had the money for. Another story from Tom Ivan at VGC. Deck Nine, the studio behind the recent Life is Strange games and the Expanse, a Telltale series, has laid off an unspecified number of staff. A statement on the studio's LinkedIn account confirmed the cuts, citing harsh games industry conditions as the reason. The Colorado US based studio previously laid off 20% of its workforce in February. But today, we are sad to share the news that we must say goodbye to some of our talented team members. This was the quote made by the Deck 9 CEO, Mark Lyons. This was an extremely difficult decision and reflects the challenging times many companies in our industry are currently facing. We are extremely grateful to every individual who has dedicated their hard work, passion, and commitment to making transformative entertainment with us. To those of you leaving the studio due to these changes, thank you for sharing your talent with us. We are proud and we are proud what we are able to accomplish together, and we are committed to supporting you in this transition in any way we can. To the community, we ask for your support and understanding during this difficult time. So, Life is Strange, Double Exposure, did not get amazing reviews. I don't think it has probably sold terribly well.
And
Um,
I actually really liked the game.
yeah, like I'm, I am excited to play it. Like that's one of those games where it's like, hey, what do you want for Christmas? And I'm like, that.
Yeah.
You know, so because like right now, like it's like that and that Unknown Nine or whatever
Oh
the
yeah, Unknown Nine, yeah.
like those games feel like peas in the pod where like they came out, reviews were not terribly great, and they feel like games that are starring a female protagonist that are just not doing well. Like they have
Yes.
certain parallels there. But yeah, I don't know. Like Deck Nine is the stewards for Life is Strange, so I would love to see that franchise continue. And it's kind of unfortunate that this game's not particularly doing well because it's the return of Max Caulfield, like the protagonist from the first game.
Definitely.
Um,
And it's I'll be interested when you do eventually get to play it, hopefully, Jeff,
yeah,
to talk about it because I actually think the game tells a really interesting story that sets the franchise up for a really interesting future. So I think they, you know, this game feels like set up for something much bigger, and maybe that's why it's not connecting with people in the same way because it's not. It is okay. So to go on a tangent for a second, it is its own condensed story, and you can play it like that, and it can be a one and done thing.
yeah,
But the way in which the game ends kind of leaves you in the place where you know that more is coming. So they clearly have a story they want to tell,
yeah.
and it would be a shame if they don't get to see that through
Did
because
you, when you played through the game, did you make the choice that Chloe lived or Chloe died?
so I made the choice that Chloe died.
How dare you, sir? I cried for like fucking half an hour on making that choice, but I ended up doing where Chloe lived, and then um, um, Arcadia Bay was just fucking destroyed. I was like, "Fuck you!" It's like Chloe lives, bitch. And then
Nice.
I went back and made the other choice.
Nice, nice. So yeah, I do look forward to you playing Double Exposure because as a Life is Strange fan, the same as I am, I do think you will enjoy it. So that'll be a fun one to talk about when you eventually get to it. But this is, this is upsetting news. Like all of these layoffs, we always say it is really upsetting. But unfortunately, for whatever the reasons might be, the entire industry right now is in a really difficult place. And
Yeah,
we've spoken about it before, how some of that is to do with over expansion during the COVID years. Some of it is to probably do with there being more games now than ever. So games are not selling as well
yeah,
as they
and
once did.
you got a good chunk of the audience essentially just playing the same 5 games.
Yeah, that's very true.
But
So that's a shame.
our last layoff story, this one hurts as well. This comes to us again from Tom Ivan at VGC. People Can Fly have announced plans to lay off a significant number of employees due to external market pressures. In a statement released on Tuesday, CEO Sebastian, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that last name, said the Bulletstorm studio was suspending or parting ways with more than 120 talented staff. The company said it's further reducing its self-publishing plans by suspending Project Victoria, scaling down its team on Project Bifrost, and restructuring some of its supporting teams. This action became necessary as external market pressures persisted beyond our forecasts. The video game market is still evolving, and we have to adjust where things are today. We are redoubling our efforts with new work for higher engagement and focusing on the development of a single independent game. We believe in our teams, games, and their potential, and remain extremely committed to continuing that journey, but we need to tailor our plans to our financial capacity. We are deeply grateful for the contributions of every team member impacted by this turn of events. Their talent and dedication has helped shape our company and our games. These changes are deeply felt by all of us. In April, People Can Fly Games announced that it had canceled a co-op action RPG codenamed Project Dagger after several years of development. Yeah, so like People Can Fly have not had the greatest, I'm going to say, last 4, 5, 6 years. Outriders didn't exactly set the world on fire. It did, Square Enix had talked about like missing projections and stuff like that, and it's that studio has just not had really good luck, and they had to cancel a game. That looks like they have to like cut back on 2 of their other games that they've got going on.
Yeah, because I did hear, and I don't know how true this is, and I can't remember, but I did hear that they were actually working with Microsoft on a game. Like Xbox were going to be publishing one of their games, so it would be interesting to see if that game still exists and whether they're still working on it. Because you would hope that a company like Microsoft would step in and actually help one of their partners like this to avoid
Yeah,
layoffs.
see, that game is called Project Maverick.
Okay, interesting.
So
Okay.
it's not in this. It's not in the other ones because Bifrost and Victoria are the other ones.
Okay.
So,
That's good to know. That's good to know.
alrighty. Um, we will move on away from the sad news. This one's kind of interesting. This comes to us from Chris Scullion at VGC. The voice actor of Geralt in The Witcher says he was scolded by CD Projekt Red for saying his character would be in The Witcher 4. Back in August, Doug Cockle claimed that he had yet to see a script for Witcher 4, but also said, "We know that Geralt will be part of the game. We just don't know how much. The game will focus on Geralt, the game won't focus on Geralt, so it's not much about him this time. We don't know who is in it. I'm excited to find out." Now, in an interview with Geektown, Cockle said that he was given a stern talking to by the developer and that he doesn't actually know whether Geralt will be in the game. When asked how he felt about Geralt no longer being the protagonist, Cockle replied, "Well, I did go online and I said something about this, and then I got slapped by CD Projekt Red. I don't know how true it is. I went off a rumor. I thought I had seen somebody from CD Projekt say that Geralt would be in The Witcher 4, but he won't be the main character, and I actually don't know if that's true now." They came back to me and they said, "We haven't put anything out there. Don't say anything." So the truth is, the answer to your question is, I don't know what it's going to be. CD Projekt Red has confirmed that last month that The Witcher 4 has started full production. Um, yeah, that's just so funny.
This this also came across to me though as he probably does know something and he probably just wasn't meant to say it yet.
Could be, but I mean, like the thing about it too is like this story kind of goes two ways because a lot of people have been like, oh, this absolutely confirms that Geralt is going to be in The Witcher 4, because they're so protective on kind of what they're doing. But at the exact
Yeah,
same time, he may not even be in the game because if you say that Geralt is going to be in Witcher 4 and he's not, that sets up a certain level of expectations that fans would be disappointed from if Geralt is not in it.
that's true. That's very true.
So there is two sides to that coin essentially. But yeah, it's one of those things where like voice actors saying things and spoiling stuff. It's like, the guy that played the foreman Spike in the Mario movie.
In
Um,
Mario, yeah.
he leaked that he was playing Spike in the movie and apparently got in trouble, and he hasn't heard back yet if he's going to be in the sequel. So there's things like that, but I'm pretty sure Mario 2 will do quite well without Spike being in there. Um, this story here comes from Jordan Midler at VGC. Several classic Call of Duty titles have been added to Microsoft's PC store, sparking hopes of an imminent Game Pass edition. Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, and Call of Duty United Offensive are all added to the Microsoft PC store for purchase, having previously been unavailable on the platform. Game industry news reporter Nobel posted on Twitter that the games may have been added ahead of their inclusion on Game Pass. This has been the case for previously legacy PC titles that were released long before their current iteration of the Microsoft PC Store. Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare are currently playable on Xbox Series console via backwards compatibility. Call of Duty United Offensive was never released on consoles. The latest entry in Activision's shooter was released on October 25th, and it was also the first Call of Duty available on Game Pass day one. So yeah, I think inevitably all of the Call of Duty catalog will be available. I think you're probably going to see about 4 or 5 other Call of Duty titles being added within the next couple of days to be added onto that platform, and then eventually hit Game Pass. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we see some Game Pass editions like happening around Christmas.
Yeah.
Going to have people
I
playing games.
I think that look, it's very clear now because we've seen this happen with Crash Bandicoot, we've seen it happen with Spyro. When these games start to appear on the PC store,
Yeah,
that means that within the next couple of months they are coming to Game Pass. Like it is, so it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
yeah,
And I think around Christmas would be a good time because look, Black Ops 6 is a great game that I actually really enjoyed. Um, but it is, as all of those sorts of games do, it's starting to lose the tail a little bit at the moment. So, actually, a way to keep that momentum for the Call of Duty franchise would be oh, maybe you're bored of Black Ops 6 right now, waiting for new content and a new season. Why don't you jump into some of the old ones that you haven't played for years?
yeah. They just
Or,
put out a trial for Call of Duty Black Ops as well too, so that
yeah,
players can try that out as well. But yeah, we will definitely be talking about more of the Call of Duty games hitting the Game Pass once that kind of becomes official, and see how that kind of goes. This story comes to us from Tom Ivan at VGC. The looming release of Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 6 is reportedly causing unease amongst some competing publishers. The next entry in the open world crime franchise, which has sold over 435 million lifetime units, is one of the industry's most anticipated releases of all time. It's the sequel to 2013's Grand Theft Auto 5, which reached 1 billion in retail sales faster than any other entertainment release in history and has sold over 205 million units, according to Rockstar owner Take-Two. The company said last month that the game is on track to hit its previously announced fall 2025 release window. They want to see if Grand Theft Auto 6 will make its deadline or be delayed until. According to Bloomberg sources, rival game publishers are waiting as long as possible to commit to their release dates for the next fall. They want to see if GTA 6 will make its deadline or be delayed until 2026, with the goal being to put significant distance between their release and their own games and Rockstar's, it's claimed. Take Two has said it's planning to avoid clashes. for its biggest titles, which will also include next year's Borderlands 4. I think it's safe to say that we wouldn't, and no one would, stack up huge releases unnecessarily, CEO Strauss Zelnick told Variety last month. Apparently, Take-Two confirmed that the first Borderlands 4 gameplay will be revealed at the Game Awards tomorrow, December 12th.
Can we take a little moment on this to talk about how Rockstar have got to the point where they are almost a developer that every other developer and publisher is afraid of. Like
Well, they
people
put a shit
actually
ton
want
of
to
money in
move
their stuff.
people actually want to move out of the way of their video games.
Yeah.
Like they're
Well,
scared of like
the same happens with movies. Like,
yeah,
no one's gonna want to release a movie next to Avengers Doomsday.
true.
You know,
It's so crazy, but it doesn't surprise me at all because we've got some really big games that are scheduled for 2025 that should probably have dates and just don't yet. And I do think that comes down to people waiting to hear about the GTA situation because we have heard that maybe there's been an internal delay. Like, I know there was a report a little while ago, a rumor going around that they had originally scheduled GTA 6 for summer next year, and that has seen a couple of months internal delay, and now they're looking at the full season.
yeah.
Um, but are they going to get delayed again potentially? I don't know. Who knows kind of what's going to happen there. Um, but yeah, it's a weird one because certain games I don't actually think need to move out of the way, and I don't think they need to worry too much
Yeah, like
because
you get like a farming simulator, they could release it just fine because that market, there's no like cross
yeah,
contamination there.
and even like certain games that are going to be on Game Pass, for example, I don't think they are necessarily hurt by the release of GTA 6 unless some sort of miracle happens and GTA 6 is on Game Pass. But that's never going to happen. So,
No, Sony's got
so,
the marketing rights, I think, for that, so that's definitely not happening.
so yeah, it's it is what it is. It doesn't surprise me. I'm going to be interested to see. Like, we know that Borderlands 4 is showing up at the Game Awards tomorrow. I'm going to be interested to see what that looks like. I would imagine that if they do have GTA 6 for next year as well, and also potentially Mafia, which is also showing up at the Game Awards, Mafia the Old Country.
Hmm.
If they've got all three of those games for next year, at least two of them have to be in the first half of the year, I would say.
Yeah, I just hope nothing more releases in that February March window because you've got
Mm.
like Monster Hunter is going to be, well, a monster. Like it is going
Yes.
to do so incredibly well.
Yeah. I think
Um,
that you could get away with probably one more big release in March, but nothing should go in February now. like
yeah, I think
like nothing
April and
should
May
go
are
in
kind of where
February.
you want to stack some stuff.
Yeah. Um on that note, let's look at while we're on the subject, why don't we take a little tangent because we love a tangent here and look at some of the bigger releases coming this year. I'll try and find a list right now if I can. Um and kind of have a little guess of where we think they might end up, where we think they might release.
Like
I,
for
I
next year.
yeah, I see you looking for a list, Jeff. So I'll leave that to you. But it's just off the top of my head, we have so many because we've got like Doom: The Dark Ages, Fable, like I said, Mafia,
Yeah,
Borderlands
like some of the
4.
big stuff here. So let's see here. Um, I mean, Kingdom Come Deliverance hitting in February.
Yeah, and to be fair, that's one game that I actually think doesn't need to move from February because
But I
that
mean,
has a
look at
very specific
well,
audience.
yeah, but look at February here. We got Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We got Assassin's Creed Shadows. We've got, you know,
Avowed.
probably yeah, Avowed. We got probably the biggest game to come out that month, and that's going to be The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak 2. That is going to be my biggest game that month. And then we've also got like Lost Records, Bloom and Rage Day 1. We've got Monster Hunter Wilds coming at the very end of February.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and then like yeah, we've got like Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves coming out in April. Then we got some to be announced stuff. So
Yeah.
we've got let's see here. Those are a lot of small releases. Borderlands 4. Um, Capcom Fighting Collection 2 coming out
Hmm.
as well. Claire Obscur,
Yeah, that
Expedition
looks great.
33. That looks
That game looks
fucking
great.
awesome. We're definitely going to be reviewing that. That's also
Hmm.
getting Game Pass as well too. We got Crimson Desert, which looks fantastic as well. Death
And
Stranding
people have been
2.
waiting for that one for quite some time, Crimson Desert.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Death Stranding 2 as well. Doom: The
mhm.
Dark Ages. We got Double Dragon Revive as well.
But
Dragon
this
Ball
is what I
Project.
mean. So Doom:
Dune
The Dark
Awakening.
Ages, Death Stranding 2, Dune
Yeah,
Awakening. We like I said, we've got Fable. There has been some rumors that maybe Gears of War E-Day is actually meant to come next year as well.
yeah.
We'll
Ghost of
we'll,
Yotei.
we'll see if that. Yeah, it's like
Greedfall
it's
2.
it's really crazy, and I do wonder where some of these games are going to fall because
Judas. That's
yeah,
another
yeah,
big fucking one. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. Um,
it's crazy. Like it really is crazy. I do, I feel like we should do a bingo card that's how many of these dates get announced at the Game Awards.
yeah, no, there's quite a bit. Um, yeah,
It's
alrighty.
absolutely crazy. If I was to make some guesses, and this is just off the top of my head, I will say that Doom: The Dark Ages is probably a late March to mid-April kind of release. Um, Something like Death Stranding, I can see that being an early, like just before fall type of release, so like September, early September kind of release.
Yeah,
Um, Fable is the one that I have concern for, not because of the quality of the game. I think that everything we've seen so far of that game gives me a lot of hope. But Fable also, I would imagine, is probably looking for like a November release. And you know that if GTA 6 makes this year, it's probably going to be around late October to November.
yeah,
Um, if I was to guess out of the major releases, I can imagine something like Fable moving into 2026 to get away from GTA 6 if it needs to.
yeah. No, like there's, yeah, like there is some like cross contamination there between like you know the demographic that's kind of shooting for something like Fable or like Gears or whatever. But
Yeah, yeah.
no,
It's going to be
like
interesting to see. Here's one for you then, Jeff, before we move on to the next news story.
yeah,
When do you think we get our next update on GTA 6?
I don't think it'll be at the Game Awards. I think that they're kind of holding on to it intently, but
Do
I
you
could I
not
could I could see
do you
something at Christmas.
Interesting. I was
I
going to
can
say
see.
because there has been a report, which is part of our news, that there's going to be two massive bits of news at the Game Awards, right?
Yeah,
I that people don't expect to be there. In my head, I do wonder whether GTA 6 will be one of those, just because no one ever expects Rockstar to turn up there because they don't need it. Um, so that would be a massive bit of news in my opinion. But yeah, why don't we jump to that news story actually? Because with the
yeah.
Game Awards on our mind,
So
we might
yeah,
as
so
well.
this is from Jordan Midler at VGC. At least two announcements at the Game Awards will make fans say "Holy shit!" A prominent reporter claims. Speaking about Thursday's show on Kind of Funny Games Daily, Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier also said he expects to see early trailers for games that are much farther away, citing Monolith's Wonder Woman game and the Star Wars Eclipse, both of which were shown at the Game Awards. Schreier claims that when Wonder Woman was first announced, that game was nothing. There is a good chance you'll see one or two teaser trailers for games that won't be out for 2026 or later. However, when pressed by host Tim Geddes about whether there would be big announcements to be excited about, Schreier replied, "There were at least two things that will make you guys reacting, saying, 'Holy shit, I can't believe it's here.'" The Game Awards will be streamed live from the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles tomorrow, December 12th. Um, yeah, so I mean, like, what would those be? Like, it's here. Holy shit, it's here. So, right? So, like, I don't know what it would be. Like,
It's things you don't expect to be there. And the last time that I felt like they had an announcement like that, personally, at the Game Awards, was when they revealed the Xbox Series console there.
yeah,
Because they had their console reveal there, and no one expected a console reveal to be at the Game Awards.
yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a console reveal because I think
I don't
it's.
think Nintendo would release this, like, announce the Switch 2 at the Game Awards.
I don't think so either.
That feels
It
very
does.
weird, but maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it feels weird. Maybe that is one of those things.
Um, but other than that, like, what? Yeah, what do you think? Let's speculate on this for a minute. What do you think? Because it could be like just
Like,
conceivably, like out there things that it could be. It could be Nintendo's next console.
I
It
think
could be GTA 6.
I think it
What else?
is like it. I don't know who would be the developer behind it. Oh wait,
Hmm.
I know exactly what it would, who it would be. Toys for Bob was working on a game with Microsoft, right?
Oh my god.
What if it's Banjo Kazooie?
Oh my god, yes. What if it is?
Because
Because everyone.
Toys for Bob built games that were similar to that. They've got that
Mm.
platforming appeal.
And everyone expects that to be Spyro as well, right? So actually
Yeah.
that would be a massive surprise, I think.
So yeah, I think it's a return to Banjo Kazooie from Toys for Bob.
Interesting. Interesting. Any others that you think it might be?
Um, well, I don't think it's anything for Nintendo because I don't think that they've got anything there unless they are going to announce the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess thing. But again, Nintendo's not really been too. They've wanted to control their announcements.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, Sony, I don't see it being anything out of the blue for them,
Hmm.
unless the Bloodborne remaster is real.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could see from Sony's side. Um, because obviously there is the reports of the Days Gone remaster as well. But and
Yeah,
while that's a big reveal for some, I don't think that's a holy shit kind of moment.
no. And like I mentioned on Twitter on a post, whatever, it's like, of course they're doing a remaster. They're going to be making a TV show or movie of it. And that has been Sony's MO, is to remaster games that are available on to a new audience, right?
Not just do a sequel, mind you, that everyone actually wants.
Yeah.
um,
But
yeah, I if I was to do a bit more speculation, what and this is like wild out there, never gonna happen, but if it did, it would be amazing type things. But what if Xbox lied? And what if it is their handheld?
I don't think so. I think like that is way too far out there in terms of like the release date,
Yeah, yeah,
because like you're not even going to I doubt very much they've even committed to a final design.
true, true.
But I mean, like,
And you don't think it could be you think it's too early for the next console from them, like for an initial reveal?
yeah,
I agree with that. I agree
I
with
don't
that.
think I like, if they're going to reveal it, I think it's going to be sometime next year in terms of
Yeah,
reveals. Um, I mean,
yeah.
like, you know, whether or not we actually get Half-Life 3, if that's going to
Oh
be a
wow,
thing.
can you imagine?
Yeah, who knows on that, especially
Can
with
you
how
imagine?
Project or what is it, Alex, how
Hmm.
that game
Hmm.
kind of ended. I mean,
Yeah,
if
true.
anything, that was Half-Life Episode 3.
True. I am sorry, because as you can probably hear me frantically searching around here while we're doing this show,
The Black
I've
Panther
been,
game. We could get a trailer for the Black Panther game.
yeah, that's true. We could. I mean, because EA are doing a Black Panther game, aren't they?
And what if we get a surprise drop for Silksong?
That would be cool. That would be cool. I've had so my idea for the surprise drop for a few weeks now has always been Metal Gear Solid Delta because they are still saying that game's coming this year.
Hmm.
They haven't changed that yet. And also, because it's basically just a very heavy remaster of a classic game, I think you can get away with shadow dropping it because the
Yeah,
people
but
who
here's the
want it are
thing
going to
though.
buy it anyway.
Why the hell would Keeley put Konami on his stage?
I know. I know that's the one part that confuses me, but also it's Metal Gear and Keeley in his head might think, well, that's one of Kojima's best ever creations. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I just think that like him and Kojima are so much pals that I don't think that
Mhm.
he would ever want to put Konami on his stage.
Yeah. What? Here's one for you. Uh, what if they're doing like a new Castlevania game?
Yeah, the only people that I would want touching it would be Mercury Steam, and they haven't been
Wow.
working on anything since Dread.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Interesting.
They're the
Interesting.
only team that I think that could do it.
It's going to be very interesting to see. I do think, we've spoken about some of the best possibilities that are at least conceivable to what we know about. Like, there is a chance, albeit slim, there is a chance that Nintendo could decide to show their next hardware here and at least tease a bigger reveal. Like they could, it could be like a small trailer with a silhouette of whatever the machine looks like, and then tune in for a bigger reveal on January whatever, right?
Yeah, like how I would do it is you have a whole bunch of games just kind of rotating, like high
Mm-hmm.
graphic fidelity games and stuff like that. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you see a silhouette of a spinning handheld, and then like it just goes Nintendo Direct, blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah.
Yes. So that is one thing that I think it obviously could be, but I think that's unlikely. I actually think weirdly that GTA 6 is more likely than that. Like, I think it's more likely that Rockstar and Take Two would go, well, we've already got Mafia and Borderlands showing up here. Why don't we take over the entire show and surprise people with GTA 6 as well? I think, that would really surprise people.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Um,
see. I thought it was confirmed that they were not going to be at the Game Awards. I can't find it.
what, Nintendo?
No, GTA 6.
Oh, interesting. Okay, because I did see that they definitely confirmed that Mafia and Borderlands will be.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Um, there's so many things it could be. Oh, I've got one. I've got one for you, Jeff.
Hmm.
What if BioShock shows up?
Yeah, I don't know what the timing on that, but I mean they could definitely put a trailer out.
Because they are working on a BioShock game. We know that.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting to see.
Could be.
Like, I'd love to see that. It's going to be interesting. We will. Do you know what? Actually, I'll say this, and me and Jeff will have to coordinate about this. But if we can find time to record it this weekend, we will probably do our Game Awards roundup then, so you will get it even earlier.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
free Saturday.
so if we can do that, we will do that because I feel like this is one of the years where there's going to be a lot to talk about at the Game Awards, Jeff, based on everything we're seeing and hearing. And of course, it is the 10th anniversary. So, whatever you might think of Jeff Keighley, I do think that is worth celebrating. That something like this has actually gone on for 10 years and hasn't gone the way of E3. Which
Yeah,
is
like for me, I just want him to give the people who have won their awards just a little bit more time to talk
time
about
to
it.
actually speak.
Because here's
Yeah.
the thing, this isn't on TV. You can run 20 minutes late if you need to.
Mm-hmm. And you can do, and also not only that, but you can do as many ads as you want, because this entire
Yeah,
thing.
again, I'm sick and tired of like, and best fighting game goes to blah blah blah, and
Yeah,
the other award goes to blah, like where they just round off like four
yeah.
awards.
At the end of the day, the Oscars goes on for, and I mean, they do it with some of the awards as well, right? But most of them, they allow those people to get up on stage and do their thing and have their moment.
Yeah,
And that's why that show goes on for 4 to 5 hours. But if this was a true celebration of video games, that's what the Game Awards would be.
yeah,
Still have it be the reveals and the trailers and all that stuff as well, because that's cool, but no one is going to care if it's 4 to 5 hours long. Like, people who want to watch it are still going to watch it. I don't think. I understand that there are concerns over pacing and stuff, but the way you make it have good pacing isn't giving the developers less
yeah.
time to speak.
And he talks about it being a celebration of games, but it's like no, it's a celebration of like how much
Yeah.
money essentially you're making from it.
Here's a question for you, Jeff. Is the other Jeff going to say yet again, what a year it's been for the video game industry?
Probably, probably.
Even though we've had terrible layoffs and God knows what else. But anyway, for now, let's move on because we still have a lot to get to in this episode. So,
Yeah.
what is up next?
So this also comes to us from Chris Scullion at VGC. Rayman and Beyond Good and Evil creator Michael Ansel has shed more light on the development issues faced by Beyond Good and Evil 2, blaming management conflicts. The sequel was originally announced back in 2008, and despite a re-reveal in 2017, there's still been no sign of a release date anytime soon. Ansel left Ubisoft in 2020, saying he was leaving the video game industry entirely to focus on a new career in wildlife. Now, in an interview with Super Poviar, I don't know how to say that, Ansel has given his view on what went wrong with Beyond Good and Evil 2 during his time at the company, saying he felt that clashes between management were the main issue. On some projects, we set ourselves huge challenges to take on teams with passion, but without knowing how long and complex the road ahead would be. Passion is a fabulous energy, but it can also lead to clashes between enthusiasts. On Beyond Good and Evil 2, for example, there were too many problems between managers. The art director wanted to redo everything over and over again. The game director wanted to make a generated dungeon game, and I was dreaming of a space adventure. We simply couldn't agree, and the game director took the product in other directions. In this type of situation, the teams are thrown around and don't even know who's in charge and who's making the decision. The producer is supposed to bring order to the situation, but that didn't happen. Guillemot even had to go down to Montpellier to get things back on track, but that wasn't enough, and the game director continued in his stubbornness. Ansel also stated that while he was annoyed to have been cited in reports as one of the key reasons for the game's issues, he did take some responsibility by not speaking out more. When I read in the French newspaper that I was running the game and asking for changes, I thought I was going to choke. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is one game where I don't think I ever questioned a decision. I'd be delighted to discuss this with any detractors. At the end of the day, it's all a case of passionate managers not getting along. I believe some time ago these people were dismissed and the project found a certain balance with new managers. These management problems are, of course, very damaging for the teams. All of this goes to show that it's not an easy job. Lots of egos and lots at stake, with clearly room for improvement in terms of human management. There just wasn't one big villain, but a whole series of key issues that remained unresolved at management level, including myself. I have my share of responsibility, and I should have to defend the project, and I should have defended the project better, being more present and more conciliatory with the staff. Um, yeah, so like this is a really nice talk from him, kind
Yeah,
of answering a bunch of stuff. Um, that game's never coming out. Like,
I don't know about never, but I think it might be a Dead Island 2 situation where by the time it comes out, it's a very different thing.
yeah,
Um, because I can see, if they do have new creative management in charge now, the game is going to become a different thing. With me having some experience in the industry, I can actually relate to this a lot because this is what happens. You get you get people who are in different lead positions, and the problem with the way that lead positions work is that nobody's really above anyone else, right? Because you have a game director, you have a creative director, you have an art director, you have whatever it might be, whichever way your team is structured. And the problem is, all of those directors of each of the different things are in charge of different elements, but none of them is above the other. So the game will get pushed and pulled in these different directions. And as he mentions, the producers are the ones that are kind of meant to, parse all of that stuff and find out the right way through the project. Sounds like they didn't really do their job. But what I will say as well is if you're a creative director, you are meant to be pushing the others to kind of fulfill your vision because you are the creative director, you are the creative driving force behind the video game.
yeah,
So yeah, those other people, those other directors can make suggestions, and sometimes their decision might be better than yours. So you shouldn't always question them, but you should be questioning them if they're trying to move the game away from what you creatively are trying to make. And it's all about having this kind of unified vision. We see so many games that when they have a unified vision, they create something really special. Look at something like, and I use this example a lot, but I think even Jeff, as someone who didn't like this game, will relate to what I'm saying here. Something like Alan Wake 2. Sam Lake wrote that game and he co directed it. Okay. But him and his co director clearly, I'm sure they disagreed on some things, but they understood the unified vision for the game. They knew what they wanted the game to be, right? And if you haven't played Alan Wake 2, there's the kind of dancey, singy musical scene, which I know was something that Sam Lake really wanted, and other members of the team didn't. But Sam Lake, as the ultimate creative driving force, made the kind of executive producer kind of decision of, no, we are having this. And he, in the end, he ended up being right because that is probably the most well known aspect of that video game because people who haven't even played the game know about that part of the video game, right?
yeah,
So yeah, so I can completely relate to all of this. I do have concerns over Beyond Good and Evil. I do think it's quite sad that it feels like this entire situation left Michael Ansel leaving the video game industry as a result. Because if you go back and look at what this guy has worked on in his gaming career, um, he has worked on some amazing projects, and he
yeah,
was a very, very good creative lead person. And I think, to be honest, I actually think that he should have got more support from producers and other people to be able to see through his vision for the game because there was a reason that he was put in that position. So,
all right. All right, we'll move on to the last couple stories that we have here. Jordan Midler from VGC reports the U.S. Federal Trade Commission has begun issuing refunds to Fortnite players who were affected by what it calls Epic Games' dark patterns, which led players to make unwanted purchases. The FTC will issue over $72 million to players who were affected, with players being notified in the coming weeks if they're eligible for a refund. The average payment will be around $114. The payments were made to settle charges that the company used dark patterns to trick players into making unwanted purchases and let children rack up unauthorized charges without any parental involvement. The complaint, which was raised in December of 2022 as part of a settlement with Epic, alleged that Fortnite developer deployed a variety of design tricks known as dark patterns aimed at getting consumers of all ages to make unintended in-game purchases. So the story goes on, definitely read it out. I think this is bullshit. You have to go through several prompts, several menus to even buy anything. So like this is just like them going like, oh, you're taking advantage of children. It's like, no, I don't see it in that way. Because like you have to first of all like buy the currency and then go to the store and then basically buy it. Like this is like it's not something that is like, oops, accidentally did it. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely with you. Like, this isn't something where you've done it by accident, you know,
see. I
like,
I can see kids being forced to, because there was that story a long time ago where kids were being forced into buying skins, so they weren't like considered, like they were called defaults at school, because like they didn't have the money to buy like um skins or anything like that, so they were being forced out of peer pressure. But that's not Epic's fault.
no, it
So
really isn't. And don't get me wrong, I do understand that you could make the argument that certain things need to be put in place for to make these purchases even more difficult, especially for the younger audience. But there are already ways to do that. The problem is that most parents who have young children kind of making purchases and stuff on these games haven't set them up with the correct account type
no, and
to
again, like it's the parents' fault essentially for not monitoring what their children are doing, setting like limitations and guidelines and rules and all that stuff. And it,
yeah,
like, sure, Epic like tosses their skins out for a limited time, so you're pressured into like getting them and stuff like that. But most of those skins often return. Marvel skins constantly return all the time.
yeah, yeah,
And the FTC talks about how you can buy skins with a single button. It's like, yeah, sure, sure. This button right here does buy skins, but you have to go through several menus to even get
yeah.
that single purchase.
Yeah, it's not like it's not one of those things where you press the button and it's instantly purchased. You know, it's
No, like the FTC is just like it's run by people that just don't understand how gaming works.
yeah,
They're like, as you see, I can press the button and blah blah blah. Yeah, because you have the currency already. You have to buy the freaking currency first, then go into the store and
yeah.
buy this shit.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. It's so weird. And look, it's not on Epic. Yes, are there things that potentially could be put in place to make this even more difficult? Yes, but some of those tools, as I already mentioned, do exist if the parents and things like that set up the right account type for their children and
Yeah.
set spending limits. Or one thing a lot of people do now is they won't put their own card information on the account, but they'll have like a separate bank card that can be preloaded for their kids to use, and they can only use it when money is loaded onto it, right? So there are
Yeah.
ways around this. There are ways to avoid this situation, and I don't think it is. I'm not one for defending this sort of stuff normally, but I don't think it's on the industry, whether that be Epic or anything else. I don't think it's on them to stop people being able to buy things. Like, it's, yeah, it's, it's very strange. Very, very strange.
Yeah, definitely. All righty. Unless the industry decides to convey any more information here.
What,
Um,
what if the end of the world happens?
Yeah, let's take a look here.
Uh,
All right, so our potential final news story of the day is Jordan Midler's report on that the employees of Kadokawa are reportedly hopeful that a potential takeover by Sony is completed due to issues with the current management at the company. Last month, it was reported that Kadokawa, the media powerhouse that owns Elden Ring developer From Software, among other companies, was in talks to be acquired by Sony. Following these reports, the company confirmed that discussions had taken place but that no decision has been made. Now it's claimed that employees within the company are keen for the acquisition to go through, largely due to management issues and a desire for a change in leadership. Speaking to Bunchon via Automaton, Automaton, I don't even know. Economic analyst Takahiro Suzuki says that he believes that while Sony will be obviously thrilled by acquiring the wealth of content and IP owned by Kadokawa, Kadokawa itself may have little to gain. Kadokawa will lose its independence and management will become stricter, Suzuki said. If they want to keep developing their business as freely as they have until now, the acquisition would be a bad choice. They'd have to be prepared for publications that don't lead to IP creation being put under scrutiny. However, the report also claims that many inside the company are keen for Sony to take over, citing issues with the current management. The people around me are thrilled at the prospect of the acquisition by Sony, says an unnamed employee at Kadokawa. That's because there's a certain number of employees who are dissatisfied with the Natsuno administration, which didn't even bother to hold a press conference after people's personal information was leaked in the cyber attack. They expect that if Sony were to acquire the company, they would get rid of the president first. I think there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of hopefulness that I think that is, I think in some ways, unrealistic. I don't think,
mhm.
like, honestly, like, I don't know if Sony would even get rid of that president. You know, like if he's been running the company as is, they may keep him in that position.
Yeah.
I also think like, they would own From Software, which I think is a huge mistake. Because that company thrives on multi-platform. The thing about it too is like Bandai Namco has a say in a lot of things as well too, because they they I think they own the IPs that From Software is basically thriving on right now.
Hmm.
Um, like this is kind of a sneaky way for them to buy From Software because like they're claiming
Yeah.
it's basically for the animation division, but then also that creates a monopoly on
Yeah.
streaming anime.
But I also, but to be fair, I do believe that claim. Don't get me wrong. I think that From Software they'll look at and they'll think, oh yeah, that's a really nice thing to have as well. But I don't think they are doing this to get From Software. I think the
No, I think
focus
it's the
is
anime.
getting the anime stuff, and I think From Software is a nice bonus because I think in let's be realistic, if it was From Software they really wanted, they would probably just make a very good offer to only buy From Software.
Yeah,
Like,
but I also wonder if this deal will go through because that will create a monopoly on anime because then they got
yeah.
them, they got Funimation, they've got that Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll, yeah, yeah.
So
It is a concern. I think there's a definite kind of,
like
there's got.
you want to talk an actual monopoly because the Microsoft stuff was not even close. This is a monopoly.
Yeah. I do think it's funny because that whole monopoly discussion, especially around the Microsoft stuff, kind of just comes back to the fact that people don't, most people don't actually understand what a monopoly is when it comes to businesses. They don't understand what monopoly means. But yeah, like Sony, if this deal does go through, Sony, at least in the Western territories, would have a complete monopoly on anime content. Like, and that is not a good thing because that's when you end up with companies that are able to charge whatever they want to charge because you have no alternative, and they can take content away from you potentially. They can censor content. They can do whatever they want to do essentially because they have no competition, right? That is what a monopoly is. A monopoly is not owning a lot of stuff and making yourself more powerful to the point where maybe people actually have a decision to make about which platform they want to be on.
No, it's basically comes down to is a category of a certain type of entertainment is confined to one owner,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And so yeah, I think that you're correct in the sense that I think there will be antitrust and kind of monopoly concerns over this deal because the reality is, yes, this is two Japanese companies, but just like the Activision Microsoft deal, this will have to be cleared everywhere in the world. Like all of the antitrust regulators
And you got
will
to
have
figure
to clear this.
Bandai Namco might just like, hey, we'll match Sony's offer because Sony doesn't have a lot of money. Like
No, that's true.
they've got a good chunk, but they don't have anywhere near. Like Microsoft could be like, hey, we'll give you half that
Yeah.
amount to
Mhm.
not be acquired.
And it's funny because there was actually a report, and I can't remember where this came from. It was about a week ago, but there was a report that there was another party interested, but that party was not named. Like,
Mm.
but apparently there were discussions with another party as well. So I do wonder whether Bandai might be, you know, whether they might be one of those. Jeff looks like he's playing with the dog right now. He probably is. Or is it? Oh, it is the dog.
He's
Here
got a
he
little
is.
harness. He's got a little harness.
Nice.
He's got a
Nice.
little. It's got a little handle. He's getting so big. He's getting
He
so
is
big.
getting big. He is getting
So big.
big. So
Yeah.
he doesn't jump on your back anymore.
Oh, he still does. He still does. Don't need the headset. Don't need the headset. No. Don't need the headset. Go.
Don't eat the headset.
Don't need the
Oh,
headset.
that's funny. But yes, I'm interested to see what happens with this. I think that if Sony because also there's a lot of things of like Sony don't even want to buy this entire company. Like that's the other thing is Sony don't actually want to buy this entire company. That's one of the things that's come out is like Kadokawa own a lot of stuff that Sony have no interest in. And they're essentially forcing Sony's hand and being like, no, if you want to buy it, you have to buy all of it. Um, so yeah, I'm going to be interested to
Like,
see where this
I could
goes.
see Bandai Namco buying From Software,
Mm-hmm.
and then because like honestly, if Bandai Namco loses From Software, that's a massive chunk of
For
their
them,
revenue.
that's massive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this age of acquisitions, as we call it in the video game industry, is never going to end because yes, this acquisition is definitely more about anime, and I do think some video game people have kind of glossed over that a bit because From Software, blah blah blah. But From Software are great, but they are not the reason. They are not the primary reason that Sony is trying to buy this company.
Yeah.
So it's a business decision. Business decisions happen. It's going to be very interesting. I do think that, as you mentioned with this specific story, that staff who work for Kadokawa are probably hopeful because you're always going to be hopeful when you have the prospect of getting new ownership. You're always going to be hopeful that things will improve. That isn't always the case. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's guaranteed. Like, for example, I know that there are some problems with Microsoft's ownership of certain things that they've purchased, but I also know that there are certain things at Activision, especially, that have significantly improved since Microsoft purchased that company. So it kind of goes both ways because you never know. And like Jeff said, even if this acquisition does go through and it does happen, they might not change anything. They might go, yeah, just carry on running that company the way you're running it. We just want like creative leadership over it, basically. and we want ownership over your IPs because everything is about IP ownership now.
Yeah.
Most of the acquisitions that Microsoft have made in the video game sphere are not about and were never about getting exclusive games for the Microsoft hardware. They were about getting a library of IPs to feed the monster that is Game Pass, right?
Hmm.
It's everything is about IP ownership now. And the most powerful companies in entertainment are the ones that own the most IPs. But we do need to make sure that we're avoiding monopolies within that space. So I hope that I hope that this whole thing is put through the same kind of due diligence that the Microsoft Activision thing was, because it should be.
You're 100% for sure. All right. Well, it appears that is the last little bit of news. I haven't seen anything basically pop up here. That is, um, other than Nintendo now owning 100% of Monolith Soft, which is great. I mean, developer originally only owned 4% of the company, but what is that anyway? So Nintendo now owns them entirely, which means we are going to see some absolutely fucking amazing games on the Switch too,
Yes.
from that team, as well as
Yes.
their support in all future things as well. But yeah, we'll move on to now the games that we have been playing.
Yeah.
We've been playing quite a bit, actually. Um, I'll kind of start briefly talking about Void Rot. This game is a Metroidvania. It is like that hand-drawn kind of approach that Hollow Knight has, and but it has almost like a Shovel Knight kind of approach where you can kind of like downward strike and then bounce off an enemy and stuff, and you end up doing that quite a bit. This is one of the best looking Metroidvanias that I have played since Dread. I think this is one of the best feeling ones in terms of like exploration. The bosses are incredibly hard. I was stuck on a boss for pretty much like 3 days. Then eventually beat it, and
Wow.
now I'm stuck on another boss, which is even harder just because of like it's like the thing about it is their bosses are very simple in their mechanics. But like I was watching a walkthrough of how to defeat that boss, and the guy was like dashing through one of their attacks, but the attack looked different. So I think they patched it so that you couldn't, because now I can't dash through that
Oh.
attack.
Oh,
So
interesting. Okay.
yeah, it's this like enemy in the middle, and then basically it fires off a bunch of tracking things, and then it fires off a field that it shoots left or right. And if you're stuck in that field, you get damaged no matter what.
Hmm.
But no, the game basically works off is like where you play as like a character that can kind of shapeshift into certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and you basically use relics and souls. And souls are passive things, like you get extra health, or your health, your healing thing is quicker. Um, Sorry, my dog is playing with the cat right now, so
That's
if you can
okay.
hear him yelping in the background,
Jeff, sorry
yeah.
to interrupt you, but I do actually see some breaking news, uh, which I'm going to send
All
to
right,
you
send me.
via.
We'll talk about it after this.
Yes.
But no, like basically, like you have your standard dashes, your standard jumping. You have like where you can mantle up certain things. You have a bunch of different abilities that are part and parcel with the Metroidvania genre. But there's a lot of really good traversal in terms of like the level design and how certain things work, and the rooms and stuff where you're basically attacking there. It is an incredibly fluid game. Like it feels very, very good. Like this is the best feeling Metroidvania I've played since Dread. I think this plays more freely than even Lost Crown did. Um, but yeah, I am aware of the news there. So let's see
Fantastic.
here.
I just thought that that was one worth bringing up.
Yeah, I'll actually be posting it on the site once the podcast is done. I've requested a code for it as well. Um, yeah, like Void Rot is, if you are looking for a like, here's the thing, there are so many Metroidvanias out right now. We just had Nine Souls as well. Too, we've had Awaken, Astral Blade. We've had just a whole bunch, and there's still a ton to come. Like indie developers have been relying on
the Metroidvania for a very long time because it is just a go-to type of genre that works really, really well with either low end or high end visuals. Last Faith as well too. But this is honestly the best one I've played since Dread. It just
Wow.
feels incredibly good to use. Like it is just great. Like the relics allow you to change things. So you can fire off like a beam that just basically like is like a vertical beam that basically goes across the level and just destroys things. There's bouncing things that you can ricochet off. There's like increasing like your standard attack and whatnot. And it's just really, really fucking good. Um, I've absolutely enjoyed it. It's I don't- it may make my top 10 of the year. I'm not too sure. It's been a pretty good year, but no, this game is just absolutely fantastic. And yeah, if you are looking for a good Metroidvania to kind of sink your teeth into, this is hands down one of the best out right now. And it's called Void Rot. It's by a company I think called Puzzle Snake.
Nice.
Um, Power Snake. Power Snake is the team that makes it, and this is apparently, I believe, their first game, and it's available on PC, Switch. I'm not sure if it's available elsewhere, but yeah, hands down, this game is absolutely fantastic, and it is remarkably challenging. I've heard that after the boss that I'm at right now, it does get a little bit easier. But yeah, no, it's doing absolutely great.
Nice, nice. I remember we were talking a bit about you playing that yesterday, and it sounded like it really kind of surprised you. So that's nice to hear. I'm glad that you've
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
I don't know if you can see it. I've got it right here. He's
Wow.
jumping around. He's jumping around. He's flashing. It's so good. So
Nice,
good. Yeah,
nice.
absolutely fantastic.
Right, so
Um,
I'm gonna do a quick one that I've been playing
go for it.
because I've been playing a few things. But as you will see if you've been following our website, I did actually play a bit of Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. There's a review on the website for it right now, analogstickgaming.com, so make sure you check that out. But how would I summarize my situation with it? I think that when Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 works, it is a better video game than Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. It has a career mode that involves you getting different licenses for different aircraft, and that eventually allows you to do different job roles that are now in the game. So, aerial firefighting, mountain rescue, all that kind of stuff. There are helicopters now, which, are a completely different kind of skill that you need to have in terms of flying. Um, but there is one major problem with the game at this current time that stopped me from rating it kind of what I would rate as highly or higher than the Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, and that is that this year's release for the franchise is fully cloud powered currently, and you cannot natively install any kind of location packs like you could in 2020 to like 2020 had the option to be cloud powered, but you could also install the actual location pack to make everything more accurate and run better and stuff. Here, because everything is cloud powered, you are also limited by your own internet connection. So if you don't have a good internet speed, the game isn't going to look good. If you have a data cap, you're going to chew through that very, very quickly. And admittedly, they are kind of looking to add what is the marketplace where you can access these kind of graphical packs, if you will, and download the actual data that you need. That's how they did it in 2020. And, once they do that, the game will effectively be it will be playable without cloud powering it. You will still need an internet connection, but because the cloud is no longer powering it, that internet connection required will not take as much, your data cap isn't going to matter when you're not streaming everything from the cloud constantly while playing the game, right? I'm fortunate enough that I didn't have a data cap, so I can just play it as much as I like. I've got good internet here as well. I'm very fortunate in that. But if you do have a data cap and you don't have the best internet, right now I cannot recommend the game to you. But if that isn't a concern for you, this is a better video game than the previous one. And that's because it has more things that will keep you coming back to it, even if those things are very, very grindy. I would rather that than have this just be a simulator like Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 and have essentially no video game to it. At least there's actually a video game here. And
I think
that is a big improvement.
Getting massive consumer appeal to something like that, because you'll get people that love like aircraft, and they'll just fly around and do everything, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, this is so real," and blah blah blah, and they'll look on that. That appeal is great, but when you want to penetrate the market like to a certain point,
you need to get bigger appeal.
Things.
Yeah, definitely, and they have definitely done that here. So I can, in that regard, I think it's much easier to recommend than 2020, and it's certainly something that people are going to play more than 5 minutes of just to fly over their house. But at the moment, I would say wait for a month or two until they've added the marketplace and added the functionality to actually download the location packs, which will then stop the game being streamed fully from the cloud, which will make it much less demanding on your internet connection.
Yeah.
So other than that, Jeff, obviously we are going to talk about indie shortly, but what else have you played before we get to indie?
Let me bring up my list here. Just going to mark off the game here just so I don't bring it up. I have been playing a good chunk of Marvel Rivals. This game is just so good. This is like, I'm not a huge fan of Overwatch, and I think it just might be very well that like when you're playing Overwatch, you're basically just playing the hands and abilities of certain characters. Like I like with Marvel Rivals that it's third person. So I think shooting I like a lot better because my gun's not essentially blocking the screen. The characters look fantastic. If you're a fan of Kenneth Rocafort, his artwork, he's a very acclaimed Marvel and DC artist. His art is fantastic. I don't know if he is the inspiration for what their design looks like, but if you look at Kenneth Rocafort's artwork and you look at Marvel Rivals character art, it's almost identical. So I'm going to have to do some research to find out if that's the case. But Marvel Rivals is in every single way Overwatch. You have a character that essentially mimics Widowmaker. It's Black Widow, so the name changes, the name parallels are there. Penny Parker, with her like mech, is essentially Diva. Like you've got all these characters that kind of fit those archetypes. You've even got the level stuff where you're guarding a vehicle along the path. You're basically King of the Hill type of things and stuff. So like it is in every single way Overwatch. But I think with the third person, I think with some of the abilities, I think the fact that they launched with like 33 characters, which is fucking bonkers, and it's free to play, which is great. You don't have to spend any money whatsoever. I mean, if you want some of the outfits and the character passes, the battle passes are super cheap. I think it was like $6 Canadian. Excuse me. So I'm probably going to buy the battle pass because I see myself playing a lot of this, and I don't see myself really interested in a lot of these hero shooters too much. I never got into Valorant. I don't like playing Overwatch. But no, it's 6-on-6. It's got a lot of really cool characters. I'm kind of maining Rocket Raccoon right now. And
is there a crossplay yet, Jeff? Does this support crossplay?
Let's see here. Marvel Rivals crossplay. Let's see here. Marvel Rivals is playable on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC, and there is crossplay between each of the consoles and platforms. To play with your friends on the platforms, you just need their in-game nickname and then add them to your friends list. So
Okay, nice. Because I currently have it downloaded on PC, so maybe we should play a bit of that later on.
yeah, for sure, 100%. Like the game is just, and the nice thing about it is it's got destructible environments. So like, if you want to flank and do certain things or destroy entire platforms so that they can't actually go through, like some areas are not, obviously, because you'll
Yeah,
break the level
but
and
they
make a
have
mistake.
certain
Yeah.
areas where you
So
can. That's cool.
it's got a lot of great appeal. And like the Marvel Rivals director even talked about how difficult it is to create not just a hero shooter, but to something that pulls people from other games. Like he even
Yes.
commented that like Concord added nothing to the value proposition because it didn't it didn't have a hook in regards to really making that game stand out. Whereas with Marvel
My
Rivals,
question
yeah,
is the hook for Marvel Rivals just the fact that it's Marvel, or is there something more than
yes,
that?
hands down, like it is it is the Marvel characters, because like the Marvel characters look absolutely impressive. Like the character designs, some of them are fantastic. Psylocke looks more like a ninja
I've
now.
seen a
Like,
few of them. Yeah, they look great. I've
yeah,
seen
I
a
mean, like
few.
it is kind of sneaky giving Wolverine this like weird yellow jacket and then hiding his like actual outfit behind the DLC. But his actual
Yes.
outfit is the Deadpool and Wolverine outfit.
Oh, nice,
And like
nice.
they've added the MCU outfits as well. Like Scarlet Witch has her like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of
So
Madness outfit.
basically, what you're saying to me, Jeff, is that if I play this game, I'm probably going to end up spending money.
Yeah, like I'm gonna buy the battle pass for sure because it's cheap and the battle passes don't expire.
Oh,
Um,
nice, nice.
yeah, the only
So they
thing, the
do
only
it the
thing I don't,
Halo way.
yeah, the only thing I don't like about this battle pass is it doesn't feature content for the characters that I'm currently playing.
Ah, that's a shame.
But also, if you watch Marvel Rivals for a couple hours on Twitch through their compatible partners, you can unlock the Galactus outfit for Magneto.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so there's a lot of really neat, and Galactus is a waifu in this game because it's a parallel dimensional type of thing. So it's like Galactus. Um, but no, like, and yeah, it is so good. It plays so nice. I think the time to kill on some stuff is really, really good. Like Rocket has the ability of shooting like his minigun, but his minigun also shoots healing things that you can run into and heal.
Here's another question for you. Is this one of those hero shooters where, because I haven't seen too much of it yet, on some hero shooters, anyone can be any character, right?
You're
If
locked.
I was going to say, if you choose a character, I then can't play as that character, right?
No, no, and they don't do the thing like Call of Duty where like one set is for the good guys and one set's for the bad guys. No.
Mhm.
So you can have like, you know, Spider-Man versus
And I
Spider-Man, Venom
think,
versus Venom.
and I have heard about there being some sort of team up mechanic where,
Yeah. So if you have certain characters and get close to them, so if you're like Star Lord and then Warlock and then Mantis, I think if you're close enough, you'll get extras, little bonuses and stuff. So there is that
nice.
kind of neat little hook of like picking certain characters and going those certain routes. Like if I'm Rocket Raccoon and someone plays Groot, I can actually jump on Groot's shoulders and then basically like be a turret on
Nice.
top of his shoulders. So there's some neat mechanics that are not
Nice.
part of the hero shooter that we've seen before. So there
Yeah,
is
that's actually
new
really
things.
cool.
There
Yeah,
is new
that's
things.
actually really cool.
And
I
buying
look
the
forward
skins
to playing this
actually
game.
makes sense because you can see your character. You can see the skin. It's not just like, oh, hey, there's my
Yeah,
character in the
yeah.
results screen. Big fucking
Hmm.
whoop.
Yeah, no, I actually, you've made me want to play this video game right now. So you're lucky we are not ending the podcast yet.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely solid. It plays super fun. It's free to play.
Nice.
Yeah, you don't have to spend, if you like us, if you go into that game and you're like, hey, I love what Iron Man looks like, you could literally just main Iron Man and never spend any money.
Nice, nice. So before we move on to indie, because at the moment that's the only thing I've played other than Flight Sim in recent times. Um, is there anything else that you have played that you want to speak about?
Sure. So over the last 2 days, I have played through Power Rangers Rita Rewind.
We got
I was
provided code for that, so thank you.
yeah, like I was playing it actually with my roommate, and we were playing like I played about half of the game solo, and then she jumped in and we started playing a little bit more of that. And I will say that game is immensely more fun in co-op. Um, and the voice work's pretty minimal. Like James Willems of Funhouse, like he plays the Green Ranger, but honestly, I think there's like 3 or 4 lines really for each character. So like, there's not a lot of voice acting. But the thing that's really funny, let me find out what his name is. Um, let's see here. It's AJ something.
Oh, okay.
Read a rewind. IMDb, because I just want to find out what his name is.
Is he?
AJ Lo Casio. So he is a lot of things. Like he's a voice actor everywhere. He was in charge of like the voice casting for this game. He basically reached out to like the majority of his friends that he knew were Power Rangers fans and said, "Hey, we have like a day to like record all this shit." So like this game is incredibly low budget, and it's actually better for it because the game is very pixelated, very everything. But the thing that is so good about this game is it's not just a beat 'em up. So like you have your beat 'em up levels where you're moving from the left of the screen to the right of the screen and streets and sewers and all that kind of stuff, right? But you also have vehicle missions where you're like driving towards the screen, like driving away from the screen, like the standard old classic like Genesis racing games like Road Rash and all that kind of stuff, where you're basically an outrun and all that kind of stuff. You're basically like driving and like shooting and then jumping and then going up ramps and stuff. There's like levels that almost feel like Star Fox. And what we were doing, because the game was getting very, very hard in the last couple levels, is we kept plugging controllers in, and then I would die as player 1, and I'd come back as player 3, and then she would die as player 2 and come back as player 4. And then we got to like one of the last fights, the second last fight, and we were just dying like crazy. And then she came back as Kimberly, who was flying in the air, and she destroyed the boss because the boss could not hit her. So like, and then the last level, like we squeaked through with like the last character, basically. And
Nice,
it's
nice.
fun. It is incredibly fun. Like all the little gameplay variations that it does. The little moments with Bulk and Skull when you go back to the juice bar are pretty fun. There's little arcade machines to play, and there's characters to collect and whatnot.
I look forward to playing it. I haven't had a chance yet. Just because, like I said, I'm quite busy this week trying to write up a
Yeah,
few things.
it's the best beat 'em up since Shredder's Revenge.
Wow, okay. High
And
praise.
I would say that because of the variety that that game offers, I think it's better than Shredder's Revenge.
Interesting.
Because
Okay.
like again, like you'll fight a level and then you fight as the Zoron, the Zords, and it's like Mike Tyson's Punch Out. So
Nice.
like you're fighting and
Nice.
then you'll dodge and then you'll left hook and right hook, and then basically you'll build up your sword charge, and then you'll basically use your sword attack and finish the fight. And
Nice.
like it offers a nice level of variety that you don't get often in beat 'em ups. And
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
this is a game that is absolutely made by fans for fans. Because AJ was talked about. He did a stream with James Willems, and they were talking about why didn't they just get the original cast? And it's because we literally had a day and a certain budget, and we
Yeah.
were never going to be able to get them and orchestrate everything. We basically had like 5 days to get all of the audio recorded. So like James Willems, for example, he does the voice for the Green Ranger. Um, the what's his spec? What's Goldar? There's Goldar. He also does the voice for Bones and Krabby Cabby. And
Wow.
then like AJ did the voice for the Red Ranger. He did the voice for Zordon. He did the voice for a bunch of other stuff. And you have all these people that were basically, it's like you have one session, 2 hours long, whatever, record everything. So like again, this is a game that's made by fans for fans. And this is without a doubt, I would say, the best Power Rangers game that's not a fighting game, because Battle for the Grid did very well. But in terms of like an adventure game that you can play with friends and a combat game, this is the Power Rangers game that people have been waiting for.
Wow, okay.
It is
That's good
unbelievably
to
good.
hear. That's good to hear because I was hoping before it released that that's what it would be. So I'm glad to hear all of that stuff.
It's solid.
Um, yeah, I'm very, very happy to hear that. But I guess now we should go on a bit of an adventure, shouldn't we, Jeff?
Sure, why
And
not?
we should get our whips, get our fedoras on, pack our revolvers, and travel around the world.
I wonder if any people were like confused when he said whips, and they're like, I don't see a car, because like kids these days are calling their rides whips and shit. I don't fucking, no
Because of
crazy man.
course I have played the entirety of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, but Jeff, I know that you have played sort of the first real section of the game as well.
Yeah, basically I'm paused right after he goes like these 13 parts of the circle like form the great circle, like that part in the trailer when he's like
Yeah.
drawing on the map the thing, whatever. I'm at that part right now.
So I'm keen to hear, I'm going to start with you then, Jeff. I'm keen to hear, what are you thinking of the game so far?
I am very shocked that this is essentially Dishonored,
Mm-hmm.
because like you get like so much variety in regards to how you go about certain things. Like you can go in just punching fists and everything like that, or you can like sneak around and like stealth in a certain way. I think the first person works really well. It reminds me of Chronicles of Riddick, where all of the movement based stuff in terms of like going up ladders and certain things are all third person, but everything else is first person. So you have
Yeah,
your whip, you
and
can grab
lots of the
shovels,
people
you can punch.
who worked on that Chronicles of Riddick game back in the day actually did work on this game. So you know that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I agree
But
with everything you've said so far.
I will say, like, because like Lucasfilms has just announced that they would be keen to work on more Indiana Jones games if this game does well. And I will
Mm.
say that like Troy Baker does a really, really good job at the voice of Harrison Ford, of a young Indiana Jones. I think there's little parts where he misses it. I think some of the
Yeah,
grunts and some of the things are Troy Baker and not so much Harrison Ford.
yeah,
But in terms of like the talking and the moments and stuff like that, I think it works really well. I think the character facial expressions are fantastic. But most
yes,
importantly, this feels like an Indiana Jones film. They do
yes, I
such a
agree.
good job with it. I think Gina is a little too um, cliche in regards to the type of female character that's generally in these films.
Hmm.
I'm hoping to see her kind of dive a little bit more into being her own character. But I think that she's fine. I think that she plays off Indy extremely well.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm going to see Tony Todd's character again, because like I like where they left off where I was at, where there was almost this like I don't know if there was like this mutual respect between the characters or anything like
mm,
that, but I just how that kind of goes down is pretty
yeah.
good.
And
I
also,
like that fight
shout out
too.
shout out to Tony Todd as well, because
Yeah.
this was his last video game role, and even from those bits that you have seen, of course, he is the main kind of threat of the early game. But actually what he's performing is really cool because he's not speaking English. That
No,
is
he's
a bit of a
speaking like
spoiler.
Latin. And I like during the fight and stuff with him, whatever, like that, where like Gina's just like chucking stuff at him and she keeps missing and he's like, "Are you even trying?" Like
Yeah.
that stuff's fun.
And that's one thing I would really say to kind of piggyback up off of what you're saying here. It's like they nailed the tone and feel of Indiana Jones from the scenes
Well,
to what is
they
said.
worked with Spielberg. I think they had him like consulting on parts of it. So like
Yeah,
they've done their due diligence in terms of
yeah,
like how do we go about telling the best Indiana Jones? Well, we bring in the people that have told the best Indiana Jones stories and we
yeah.
basically have them kind of like help. So like this,
This
yeah,
works and this doesn't. Yeah,
yeah, it's really good. I like the fact that you're picking up shit, like there's relics and things, and then like the
yeah,
books, like you use these books to like get your abilities and things like
yeah.
that.
I like that it's not a traditional like, oh, level up and earn a skill point. You actually you get you do get points. Oh, my camera has lost connection, so apologies for that. Give me
Jordan's been
one
an
moment.
AI this whole time. Oh my God, that's your real
I
face.
am still here, but what I was going to say is that I like I'm still here. I'm trying to fix the camera. But yeah, I like that, there's lots of optional things to do. There's lots of things to discover. And we're going to talk a bit about the kind of side quests here. So why don't you do that, Jeff, while I'm sorting my camera here, hopefully.
I will say the only part of the game leading into some of the side quests that I'm not too keen on is some of the traversal is going up the same ladders and swinging to the same things. Like there's one part where I kept going. I probably went up and down these areas probably like 13 times. But the side quests are pretty neat because like I did this one side quest where I had to go and find this like tablet for like a priest. And it was just a side quest. It had nothing to do with the main story. And when Indiana Jones is deciphering the tablet, he's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then he stops himself. He's like, the Great Circle. And it's just, it ties into the main story. And that's the one thing that I really liked. The side quests feel pretty good. I like the one where you're finding the journal for this nun who's just like hell bent on like learning this like blasphemous knowledge from this guy that they called like the mad priest or whatever. But like the side quests so far have been pretty good. I like exploring the city. I do wish there was multiple ways to get to certain areas instead of repeating the same stuff. There's like a lot of books to find. You can eventually go back to that area if you've missed anything. So that's really nice because I missed a couple books. But no, the side quests so far have seemed really enjoyable. I like the fighting and stuff because usually I just grab a shovel and then I like wind up and run towards an enemy and clock them across the head and they basically roll and slam into like the wall or something and they're knocked out unconscious.
Yeah. I am still here. Just an update. I think my camera has overheated, but I will continue to talk. So I am now a grey circle for the rest of the episode.
I think it's your
maybe I am the Great Circle, Jeff. But yeah, I kind of agree with everything you've said here. One thing I will say really surprised me about this video game, and I think you'll notice it from that first Vatican area, and it continues throughout the game, but the amount of side content that there is was actually quite shocking to me.
Yeah, there's like that little puzzle box in that log hallway or whatever, where you have to like move the thing left and then right and then grab the little pieces.
Yeah.
And the puzzles have been good. Like I like the puzzle with the fountain where you had to keep rotating things.
Yes, that was a good one.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Some of the puzzles have been really, really good. But yeah, like it's been solid. I like even the way of like using keys and opening locks and stuff where you have to like motion the thing on the analog stick and whatnot.
Yes.
Like that stuff's been really good. Like so far, there's not really anything bad that I can say. I think like honestly, like I was very doubtful of Troy Baker just because I've been less hot on him lately. But he does
for
a very,
me,
very
for
good
me,
job.
he nails it. I think he does a really good job.
Even the guy that does the impersonation for Marcus was really good. Like that sounded like him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, and I like the priest, Antonio. He's just like dancing to the music and shit like that. Yeah. He's like, hey, how you doing, Antonio? He's like, fucking awesome. Like
yeah,
he almost reminds me of oh God, what's his name? He was in the Matrix. He ended up what is it? The mole. He ended up turning on them.
Oh, I can't remember.
Kind of reminds me of him. He also played the dad on Veronica Mars.
Yeah,
he kind of reminds me of him. But
that makes sense to me.
Have been great. They've fit the tone of everything. There's still like the funny bits. But no, they do a good job. I think that this is the best iteration of Indiana Jones we've seen in a video game.
Yes.
I think a lot of people will probably even confirm that this is better than the last film because I know that one didn't do well. I haven't watched it yet. I'm kind of in the Indiana Jones mode, so I might watch it.
So someone I was communicating with during the review period, John Clark from Xbox Era, he actually says in his review that he thinks that this game is better than the last two Indiana
Yeah,
Jones movies.
100%.
So there is that to think about. But yeah, I really like this game. I'm keen to hear more of what Jeff has to say as he plays more. But yeah, I love it. I go and read my review for more about what I think on it. I couldn't be more happy with it, and spoiler at the moment until I've played and finished a few other things, this is my personal game of the year. Like they just nailed indie in a way that I did not expect them to nail indie. And they made a game that I didn't expect them to make because, as Jeff mentioned earlier, this is much more like a Dishonored. And one thing I point out in my review is I actually describe this as an adventure action game because the focus is so much on adventure. And the game isn't trying to hold your hand. It wants you to explore. It wants you to find the puzzles.
Yeah,
It
and
wants you to find...
you get different outfits as well to disguise yourself. I don't know how
Mhm.
elaborate that gets as it goes on, but I'm dressed as a priest, so everyone's like, "Oh, Father, how you
So
doing?"
there are certain places where you need a specific outfit to
Yeah,
access certain content. So
yeah. I got to find the black guard, black shirt, so I can get into the fight club.
yeah, so I was just going to mention that. Yes, that one was the one that I got, and it was like, oh, that's actually really cool. And there's a few things in there that are very interesting. Let's put it that way. I don't want to spoil it for you.
Where do you find the black outfit?
So if you select that quest,
Yeah.
if you actually select it, where the outfit is will show up on your map.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. All right, I'll have to
So,
do that when I can go back.
so yes, the game is quite good with that stuff, but what I also like the fact that it doesn't. Well, you can make it show more icons on the screen and stuff, but they
Yeah,
want it to be very immersive, and it doesn't really show icons on your screen unless you actually open up the map. And even opening up the map, it's just Indy opening up his book, and you can still move around and look down at the map and stuff like that. I really like what they've done here because it is an immersive sim that has a lot of action adventure elements
yeah.
as well.
Like like I was shocked how much it plays like Dishonored.
Yeah.
Like absolutely, I was like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So I look forward to hearing more of you and your adventures as Indy because I think that you're in for some very interesting moments, and yeah, there's some secrets as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of
What I
little
would
like Easter eggs and stuff like that too, basically.
Yeah.
And like I like the game kind of opens up with you playing through the Raiders of the Lost Ark part right up until the
Yeah.
boulder, and then it's like a dream sequence and stuff. So it's pretty neat because like you even see like Alfred Molina there. I don't know if he actually like voices the character or anything like that, or if they just pulled audio
But
from the show.
but that how they capture those facial expressions as well. Like, my God. Like,
Yeah,
Digital Foundry did a side by side comparison between the movie and that
yeah.
scene, and it's actually quite impressive.
It is like there is still that uncanny valley, and some of the little like I noticed like when you open up the door, you can see sometimes like the animation almost like jittering to get to that part. Like there's
Yes.
little tiny things that kind of
Yeah.
throw off the realism,
Yeah,
but they're
definitely.
so minor.
And I'll send you some screenshots later, Jeff, because I've actually played a bit of the game. Well, I did my review on PC, but at the time when I played, the path tracing wasn't available. However, the game now has full path tracing support on PC, and it looks even more graphically impressive. I'll send you a couple of screenshots later on. Um, because this is a very nice looking video game. It's
And it's
great, and
honestly, it's by a studio that is utterly fantastic. Like, this is the type of game that honestly I kind of wish wasn't coming to PS5, so that Microsoft would have this kind of like titan in their corner. But I understand that, again, it is a business, so you are going to get another like 2 or 3 million players on
What I
PlayStation.
would say, however, is that if you've got Game Pass, at least in my opinion, you should at least try this video game. Because this is one of even if it isn't a game of the year for you,
I haven't even got a gun yet, and I'm still having fun.
Even within the first few hours, it's very clear, I think, that this is one of the better video games of this year. So
it's really solid so far. But I mean, like, I'm gonna be playing more of it today. Although I'm down for Marvel Rivals as well. I'll be playing pretty much the bulk of today, doing it, and then all this weekend I'll be playing as well.
Put it this way. So in my playthrough, to give people some idea of how long this video game is as well, in my playthrough, I did maybe, I don't know, around 50% of the side content and then the whole main story. And that took me between 25 and 30 hours.
Yeah, like it's because like most Indiana Jones games have been probably like 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because I did see a report where it was like, oh, this game's about 12 hours long. And it's like, even if you mainline it, I actually think it would be hard to finish this video game in 12 hours because it's not, there is a lot you have to do. Like, at one point you go down into some catacombs, which is like, Jeff's done that bit already.
Oh, and it's great. Like, you go down there and you can't take the torch through the one thing, so you got to throw it through the crack in the wall and then run around and grab it. Like, there's neat little things like that. Or relying on Gina when you're like on a platform, you're like, Gina, toss me over, and then like you'll go over and stuff. And it's so good. They do such a good job with this thing.
It's really good.
Like, honestly, this is going to be in the top 5 of like best licensed games of all time.
I agree.
It is such a they do such a service to.
It's the way they've captured the license, right? They've just captured the license so well.
And I want them to do an Xbox dynamic background of just the map and a plane just kind of like going from like.
That would be really cool, actually. That's a neat idea. That's like, a really cool one. Yeah. What I will say, Jeff, just a little tip for you as well, because I'm sure you've seen some of these already, but you can find these like random ancient relics that you can pick up.
Yeah, they look like a weird shaped potato.
Yeah. There is something you can do with those. So make sure that you're finding all of them if you can. Because I want to make sure that you find this nice secret thing that you can find. So yes, they are not just a collectible for collectible's sake. There is actually something you can do with those at a later stage. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for those. What I would say is I enjoyed this game so much, and this is how I'll round it up. I enjoyed this game so much that as soon as I finished it, I wanted to play it again. And that's something that's quite rare for me. Happens very, very rarely. Alan Wake 2 was a similar kind of situation. But this one was like just a joy to play. And every concern I had was answered in some sort of way. It's just like, it's just something that was like my biggest concern, if I'm being honest, about this game before release was the fact that it was melee combat focused, and I wasn't sure how that was going to feel to actually play. But the combat is so fun. It's so fun.
They do a really good job with pretty much like everything that game is kind of like trying to do. Like, it feels
very in tune with like the license. It feels like
Have you like I when I was playing the game quite early on, I whipped somebody. I whipped one of the enemies, and they just fell off of a cliff.
Nice.
It was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. But you can also use the whip is like the ultimate utility in this game because
Yeah, use it to like climb and swing
you use it to
around.
climb, you use it to do puzzles. You can pull enemies towards you in combat with it, but you can also use it to disarm enemies as well, because enemies will have firearms. They will have actual guns, and you will die very quickly.
Yeah, I haven't got to guns yet because I have bullets for a revolver, but I haven't been able to find one yet.
So press left on your D-pad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You already have it.
So every disguise has a built-in weapon, including Indy's default outfit. And for him, his weapon should be his revolver. It should come up with left on the D-pad.
Oh, okay. I'll have to take a look. Yeah, because like I was looking, like trying to find guns, like when I was like picking stuff up, because you pick up like frying pans and shovels and all that
It's
kind
the
of stuff.
sound effects as well, Jeff. When you hit someone.
Oh, there's one guy that I just absolutely fucking clocked, and it was so freaking funny. I do kind of wish that you could turn off like enemy guard dogs and stuff, because I don't like killing dogs.
You can just do the whip and they get scared of it and run away.
Oh, okay. I'll have to do that then.
So yeah, if you whip near them, you don't even have to whip them. If you whip near them, they get scared of the sound and they basically cower in the corner.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, one other and this is a tiny achievement-based spoiler for you, but not a story spoiler. Find a fly swatter and hit someone in the head with it. It's very funny.
Okay. Nice. I'll have to take a look at that. But yeah, no, like it's just been a very, very good use of the license. I think the characters are well represented. I think that they're doing things that are natural to themselves. Like Indy feels like Indy. And I think like it's such a good performance. I think everything has been just solid on the game.
Good.
It's been very, very good.
Well, hopefully in our next episode, Jeff can give us a bit of an update on his adventures as Indy.
Yeah, I'll also talk about the Soul Reaver collection, because I forgot to talk about it today.
Nice.
But, yeah.
And like I said, if we can find the time, we will record that episode on the weekend. So you may even get 2 episodes this week if you're lucky. There shouldn't be any more technical issues because I'm using this new setup now. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, the camera was a bit of a weird one today, but that is kind of just I can't do anything about that. The camera overheated. That's that just is going to happen sometimes. But eventually I will get a nice little image that I can add to my great grey circle here, so that if the camera does die again, at least you can see my face. But yeah, with that being said, I don't think I really have anything else to add other than to say that I do have a code for Path of Exile 2, so I'll be checking that game out because it's currently in early access. And I'll be checking that out before the next episode, so I'll make sure to give some impressions on that as well. And our friend from the Outer Haven, Keith Mitchell, will probably join us at some point to talk more about that game because he's been loving it, and he actually has that as his game of the year over Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, which, if you know Keith Mitchell, that's a big thing for him to say. So yeah, so look out for that in the future because we will get Keith back on at some point. Obviously, make sure you're checking out the website. My Flight Sim review's up right there right now.
Yeah.
I think Jeff probably has several reviews coming, as he always does.
Yeah, no, I'm working on Void Rot, working on that right now. I'm going to be spending some more time with Antstream Arcade. I've been playing that, which has the Genesis version of Aladdin, and fuck, that game is good.
Nice.
The SNES one sucks ass. Holy hell! I tried that. I was like, fuck no. But Amsterdam Arcade's got like 1,300 games or something on it. Like it's got
Oh,
Double
I didn't
Dragon.
know that. Wow.
It is
Okay.
so good. It's got Bubble Wobble on it. Yeah, I'll be talking more about that probably next week. I'm gonna try and get a
Nice.
small micro review out for that.
Nice.
And
Nice.
then I'm still working on my Stalker 2 review. I still got about 7 missions left to do. So I'll be playing that and reviewing that. So I'll have a very, very busy weekend there.
If we can't save our lost episode, as we're calling it, what we will do is at some point we'll probably record a shorter Stalker 2 discussion to replace that lost episode if we can't save it for some reason. Just because, Stalker 2 is a game that I would like to speak about at some point. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't come to that and you can see the lost episode, and we will make it very clear that this episode was recorded like well in advance and it's a lost episode kind of thing. So obviously you don't have to listen to it if you don't want to. But yes, enjoy the Game Awards. Let us know what you think these two big massive announcements are going to be. And who knows, if you do actually comment on our video and you like and subscribe, and you are right about one of these two massive announcements, maybe I'll give something away. But you'll have to find out by doing that, won't you? And then until then, I'll say have a good day, keep gaming, and see you next time.